All right, welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is lesson 2, and in this lesson, we're going to be talking about the different currency pairs. Okay, so currency pairs are categorized into three categories. We have the major currency pairs, we also have the crosses, and we have the exotics, okay, or the exotic currency pairs. Okay, so let me explain more. Starting off with the major currency pairs, okay, also known as the USD pairs. Okay, first example, we have the euro against the United States dollar, also known as the euro dollar. Okay, and this pair right here is the most traded pair. Okay, then next we have the Great British Pound against the United States dollar, also known as the pound dollar. All right, then we also have the United States dollar against the Swiss franc, also known as the dollar Swissy. The Swiss franc is also known as the Swissy. All right, that's a name that's given to the Swiss franc in the trading circles. Okay, that's how it's known. All right, so we also have the United States dollar against the Japanese yen, also known as the dollar yen. Then we also have the Australian dollar against the United States dollar, also known as the Aussie dollar. All right, so Aussie is another name given to the Australian dollar. Then next we have the New Zealand dollar against the United States dollar, also known as the Kiwi dollar. Okay, so the New Zealand dollar, the other name given to it is the Kiwi. All right, then we have the United States dollar against the Canadian dollar, also known as the dollar loonie. All right, so the Canadian dollar is also known as loonie. All right, so out of these pairs right here, all right, the top four top 4 pairs, okay, these top 4 pairs right here are the most traded pairs. They account for the most transaction in the market, like I'll show you on the next slide. Okay, all right, so let's talk about the Forex turnover now. All right, and this right here, the source of this is the Bank of International Settlements, or the BIS. You can go to this website and check out these statistics. Okay, all right, so looking at this table right here, you can see in the extreme left right there we have the currency, and as you can see, the United States dollar, euro, JPY, JBP, and the rest, and so on and so on. Okay, I cropped this table to show the top 10. All right, but when you go to their website, it will be a longer table. All right, so as you can see, the years from 2013, 2016, 2019, 2022, 2025, and now currently, this is where I want you to pay attention, okay? Because I want you to see the percentage the United States dollar contributes, okay, in terms of the transaction. Okay, as you can see right there, it contributes 98% of the transaction, all right, or the turnover. Then the euro contributes 22%. Okay, then the JPY contributes 11%. Okay, then the JBP contributes 5% of the turnover. All right, so you can go and check that out on their website, and so on. The Chinese yen, the Swiss franc, and so on and so on. Okay, all right, so let's move on. So the next category is the crosses. Okay, and the crosses, these are just non-USD pairs, and you can have so many variations of crosses as you want. All right, so starting off, let me give you an example of, let's say, the euro crosses. Okay, we have the euro against the Swiss franc. All right, and we also have the euro against the Great British Pound. Okay, we also have the euro against the Australian dollar. So what I want you to pay attention to is the euro is the common denominator. All right, and that's what crosses mean. So for this to qualify to be a euro cross, it has to have the euro as the common denominator. All All right, another example is the yen crosses. Okay, and you can see right there we have the euro against the Japanese yen. We also have the Great British Pound against the Japanese yen, and we also have the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. And like I said, the common denominator in all this is JPY, the Japanese yen. As you can see right there, for you to qualify to be a yen cross, it has to have the Japanese yen as a common denominator. All right. So another example, we have the pound crosses. Okay. So we have the Great British Pound against the Australian dollar or the Aussie. Then we have the Great British Pound against the Canadian dollar. Then we also have the Great British Pound against the New Zealand dollar. And like I said, the Great British Pound is the common denominator. So you can come up with so many crosses, variation of crosses as you want. All right. And sorry, let me clear my throat. So yeah, so you can come up with so many variation of crosses as you want. You can come up with New Zealand crosses. You can come up with Aussie crosses. All right. All right. So let's move on. So let's talk about exotic currency pairs. All right. And exotic currency pairs, these are pairs that are classified under developing countries. Okay. So the first example, let's say the United States dollar against the South African rand. Now remember, when we were talking about the major currency pairs, I talked about the United States currency pairs, major currency pairs, also known as the United States, uh, also known as United States dollar currency pairs. But the fact that the United States is matched with the South African rand, okay, which is classified under a developing nation, okay, this right here makes it an exotic currency pair. Okay, so take note of that. It doesn't necessarily mean that if a pair is with the United States dollar is a major currency pair. No. All right, if it's crossed with let's say currency from a developing a nation that is classified under a developing nation, it will be an exotic pair. All right, so you see other examples. You can have the United States dollar against the Thailand Thai baht, United States dollar against the Mexican peso, United States dollar against the Singapore dollar, United States dollar against the Hong Kong dollar, United States dollar against the Swedish krona. All right. And one thing I want you to note with exotic currency pairs, their spread tends to be very wide. All right, so you need to be careful, okay, while trading these exotic currency pairs. The spread tends to be very wide. All right, so let's do a quick recap. We talked about the categories of currency pairs. We talked about major currency pairs, which are the USD pairs, and we also talked about the the mostly traded or the most pairs that, or the most currency that contributes to the most transactions. We talked about the euro. We talked about the Great British Pound. We also talked about the Japanese yen, and we also talked about the Swiss franc. All right. Then we talked about crosses. All right. And like I said, I mentioned, like, you can come up with so many variation of crosses. You can come up with euro crosses, Japanese yen crosses, and so on. All right. So these are just non-USD pairs. Okay. Then we talked about exotic pairs, which are pairs classified under developing nations. Okay. All right. So with that being said, I've come to the end of this video, and I'll see you in lesson 3.